And a good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes. My name is Jeff Owens, General Manager at WEIU. Today we're talking all things weather. We have a crew in here. We have Cameron and Craig. Welcome back, Cameron.
Greetings.
We have Charleston alumni, freshman WEIU weather student Ealy Davis here.
Yes, hi.
How are you? And Scott Ealy, non-traditional student in the weather program here at EIU. Welcome, Scott.
Aloha.
There you go. Have you pull that a little closer to you, Ealy? All right. I guess we'll just throw this out there to start off with. We've had some really odd weather to start 2024. Talk about it and some of your thoughts on the fact that, you know, some of the kids thought it was summer last week and now it's frosting again this morning. So.
Well, it's an active jet stream, first of all, and we're kind of in between two jet streams. A jet stream is a channel of fast-flowing air, and so climate change is kind of playing a key role in this winter. Yes, what we refer to as a roller coaster effect, where we get super warm. We hit a high on Friday of 68. It was lovely, absolutely lovely. And then before that, we had temperatures, we broke a record, -12. In it was the 15th of January. And so, yeah, it's climate change is playing a key role here.
All right. You guys have thoughts on the weather, this crazy beginning of 2024 weather?
It's definitely interesting to see people out there wearing shorts in the middle of February, but I mean, it definitely feels nice after seeing those -degree temperatures in January.
I always enjoy the warm weather, but it is also worrisome, especially when I look at where we've been with the drought monitor this year and where we've been in East Central Illinois and some of our rivers and streams.
Well, every time Mr. Ealy goes south, it gets warm here. So.
Is that what it is? Now, Scott, you do have a pretty cool story. You're a non-traditional student. You are an attorney from Effingham. Tell us a little bit about your story and kind of what got you here to EIU and in this program.
Well, I'm 63 years old. I've had different educational experiences. I'm an attorney. I've been in the law for 30-some years. I've been in media, in and around that. But I've always watched WEIU TV, especially the News Watch, and enjoy it very much. And I've always thought, golly, that would be interesting to do that. And I've also had a paddleboarding business where the weather is, and I was a jogger, runner, and the weather's always very important to us and important to me because I don't like to jog and freeze to death. But, I think one day I just got up the courage to inquire a little more about the program, and that's when I was introduced to Kelly Goodwin and then eventually to Professor Craig. And they invited me in. And
I thought it was really interesting that it would have been my oldest student, and it was a good challenge. So he attended the classes and enjoyed learning and keeps asking questions. So
I've never felt old here at all. Now my voice is starting to get a little older sounding, not in a good way either. It's not deepening any, but I've never felt like anything less than one of the gang. I've been a learner along with everybody else, and my only regret is I don't have more time to learn.
Well, and he's also been instrumental in the students, the younger generation, looking up to him and knowing how to do certain phrases, how to present themselves. So it's been a two-way street.
Yeah, and that's why you kind of brought Ealy today. She's a freshman here at Charleston grad. You did an internship with WEIU last year, so you kind of knew what you were coming into. But when you see Scott's story, and then you've kind of got a semester and a little bit ahead behind you, talk about Ealy Davis a little bit.
Well, I always was around weather growing up. I mean, I watched WEIU's severe weather coverage on the TV with my dad, and so whenever I got the opportunity to do an internship through my high school, it was a no-brainer that I was going to come here because I've always loved weather. And I was lucky enough to fall in love with it, and I ended up majoring in geography and doing the WEIU weather program here as a freshman now. And I mean, working with Scott, it's been very nice being able to figure out he's very well with public speaking. So as someone younger, it's very nice to be able to look up to someone who has experience with public speaking and hold himself very well.
And one thing that Cameron or Mr. Craig always says is that weather is just not giving a forecast. It's a science. There's a science to it. Can you all expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I teach the students how to use the models, but not rely totally on the models. They have to understand the individual concepts that I teach them to parse out what's actually happening, because the models will be wrong. And so if they get outside and see what's happening right now, they'll have a better chance. We also have a joint program with National Weather Service that we do observations for National Weather Service. So we use that data that we observe every day at 6 p.m. to merge with our forecast to see what the trend is going to do, whether it's going to be warmer or colder. So yeah, it's very important that the science is first, public speaking second.
You know, Professor Craig has emphasized patterns in weather in particular. And this reminds me of the old civil rights phrase that I used to hear in Mississippi where I went to school. If you don't know where you've been, you don't know where you're going.
Exactly, yeah.
And I'm one of those people who's fascinated in looking at where we've been weather-wise also, and looking at the radar that tells us where we've been, and we can we start to understand the patterns of the wind. Professor emphasizes the winds, and I know a lot more about the wind's effects on the weather than I ever really thought was the case. Those cold northwest winds or those southern winds that bring in those warmer temperatures.
Right, and as a professor, I have to understand that I'm presenting this material in a semester, and I've had 23 years of looking back and collecting a personal archive of all this information, and so I have to quickly reduce that 23 years into 15 weeks, and it drives the students crazy, right?
It can.
Is there anything that, and this is for Emily and Scott, is there anything that's really surprised you about learning about weather?
I mean, I didn't realize just how many factors go into our temperatures. Like, obviously, I mean, the sun is like a no-brainer one that you think of when you think of like warmer temperatures, but it also comes down to like clouds and winds and the upper level air. And that was really shocking to me whenever I first took Cameron's class of like weather and climate for a semester. But yeah.
I agree completely with what Emily is saying, and looking at the clouds in particular, I had no idea that the clouds at night in particular help keep you warm. They seal in the radiation that has come through, the energy that has come through in the daytime, and if you have clouds at night, that keeps you warmer through the nighttime hours and gets your day off to, in my belief, generally speaking, a better start, because I, again, like the warmth.
There you go.
This is great. I just love the educational value they're getting.
We talked a little bit at the beginning, Cameron, you did about climate change, but obviously it's a serious topic because it does appear that climate is changing. It's not as much as maybe the bad weather or whatever. It's the seasons seem to be shifting, or is that just me?
No, you're exactly right. We can observe that now. At the beginning of the semester, for 23 years, I asked the students, how many of you believe in climate change or that it's happening? And then that was majority of the students would say it's not happening. Now it has switched, and so I asked the students, what evidence can you provide me with that you know that it's happening? And then they say, well, extremes in weather. And so yes, the seasons are there really is becoming a problem where the fall and spring traditionally end and begin at a certain time, but now it's kind of spread over several months rather than a month.
I agree. And it seems like the fall goes into later November, and it's almost, you don't expect any bad weather really until almost past Christmas time.
Right, and a key factor in that, if you look at the hurricane activity, in the past, the hurricane season ended in October. Now it's extended into November.
There you go. The other thing I think is really cool this semester at WEIU, and I want Emily to talk about this first, is we have so many Charleston and Mattoon kids. We have other kids, too. If we call you a kid, Scott, you're from Effingham.
I'll take
we
it.
have Casey represented, Robinson, but the Coles County, I think we have 8 or 9 students on staff from the Mattoon and Charleston schools. I think that's really neat. Maybe
Yeah.
it's just BB&B, but what do you think about that?
I think it's so cool. I mean, coming in here and just like running into people that like I used to play sports against or like went to class with in high school. And I know that Liv Bennett does the anchoring for Newswatch as well, and so it's been really cool to be able to do the weather alongside her, like for certain shows, because we are scheduled together
Yeah.
for certain shows, and that's just been really cool. Because we took like a journalism class together in high school, and now we're doing this.
Yeah, so I think that's really pretty neat. I don't know if Scott or Cameron have a thought on that, but is it nice to have the local kids?
It is, definitely, especially when, your boss is Emily's, father. So, I don't know if that's job security or.
That's her. That's cool. The other thing I really want to talk about is, like, right now, I don't know who's doing the forecast for tonight on weather. I don't know who's the weather person.
It's Ben Whitney, who's another one in our program.
So what do they do from now until 5:30 when we go live?
Well, when I get up, I start looking at what's happening weather-wise. That's the first thing that I do. And then I want the kids to do the same thing. They just kind of breeze through the models, kind of look at what's happening outside in their immediate location. And then when it comes to the afternoon, at 2 o'clock, then they start putting their numbers together on a sheet of paper. They work through the models, kind of figure out all the parameters they're going to cause the sheets are full of notes and everything. And then Emily, what do you do on the back side of that sheet?
Depending on which show I do, it's for the live show, the 5:30 show. I usually write out an outline of kind of what I'm planning on saying, especially since I'm newer to this, that I like to kind of know what I'm saying and work out the kinks of my show and make sure everything's correct on the back of my sheet. So there's a lot of words on the back of my 7-day.
Scott, you brought cheat sheets in to show us.
I did. I was worried someone might ask me, what is the weather today?
Well, what is the weather today?
Well, a high of near 44, I think. We're going to be around there. We started out with clouds this morning, and by the way, we have nice pictures of campus going on at the EIU Weather Center Facebook site now. It shows us at least a starting point where we started the day from, sometimes some nice sunsets as well. But we started out clear. We have increasing clouds. Those clouds will trap some of the warmth and help us stay a little bit above normal for this time of year. And by the way, my cheat sheet page always includes, for perspective, the average historical average extremes, which are 42 for the high, 24 for the low this time of year. So we're still running a little bit of above average, certainly on the top end this afternoon, although speaking of perspective, it doesn't feel that way compared to last Friday. It doesn't seem above average.
You said something very interesting, near 44. We talked about that last Friday. You want to expand on that?
Well, we cover a wide territory.
Yeah.
And as much as this is a science, it's not an exact science because our weather is constantly changing and can be changed by a number of factors, as Emily alluded to. It's not just how much the sun is shining or the clouds or the wind. There are just several things that go into this, which that's my learning too, as well as Emily's. And, so although we can't guarantee what the temperature is going to be, we're usually on the spot or very close, but we also cover a wide territory.
Yeah, because when you think about it, it snowed a couple times in Champaign on days down here. We were in almost 50. So, that's what makes your job really tough when you've got, Champaign to Effingham and Terre Haute, to almost, Shelbyville Pass on the other side. So, yeah, it's definitely tough. Question for each of you, but it's kind of how I think you'll look at the question different is, what are your goals? We're going to start with Emily because she's younger, but what are your goals with weather? And then we know, Cameron, you're teaching it, and Scott, you're, learning this on the side, as I would say, a little bit. So talk about your goals for what you want to do.
Well, when I was first starting out, I definitely wanted to do the on-air broadcast side of it, and it hasn't changed. I still want to be able to work at a station somewhere, don't know where yet, but the next 4 or 5 years be able to be on air at a TV station and work there. I find weather super fascinating, so I feel like it'll be a very good career for me to go into. But yeah.
We have a few people out there that do that, so
that's right.
You'll be fine.
Yeah, it is. We have several students, alum that one's in Chicago. We've got a couple in Champaign and Springfield, in Indiana, and Cincinnati, and Minnesota, so
Arizona.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so they're all over it's my plan to take over the world.
And you know, I love watching all these people because we get a chance in today's evolution of electronics, of the internet. We can watch how they're all doing. Darren Leeds is another good one in Champaign.
Try not to leave anybody out. You know, so as we've been here longer,
that's right.
There's so many people.
And Darren does some excellent graphics that I think we all could learn from. But through streaming media in particular, and through YouTube presentations, we can watch most of these people do their work, and we can take a little bit from each one of them. And we've had some very talented people who worked very hard who learned here at EIU.
Yeah, and then they also, it's one big happy family that, you know, I keep in touch with them, but they also contact me when they have a forecast problem. And so then we discuss it over the phone and work through that. So no matter how when they graduated, 2010, they're still ours. That's right.
We will not let them go. Other goal, Scott. I mean, I know you're like you said, you're 63 in Effingham, and you've got the life and the wife. But I mean, do you want to do anything with weather as you continue on? Or
absolutely. And I've had some health issues. My first goal is to live longer, but as I move along, I would love to wind up doing weather on television, at least part-time, if not full-time, for a better climate. In my eyes, a better climate. A tropical climate, maybe in Florida.
Yeah, it was a couple years ago, Biloxi was his dream location, and I said, well, you could do that, but we really need you here.
Well, you know, I watch Hawaii news now and island news on streaming television, and I can picture myself doing that.
That's awesome. And Cam, you've been doing this for a while too. I mean, you still got the fire and the vigor to keep going on.
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah, I will drop dead in the lecture room at age 96.
That's a nice thought. Will it snow again this winter? Not the whole year, because that's the trick question, you know. So will we get any more snow in February?
Yes, we will.
March.
It'll be hit and miss. Okay. But yes, we're in the middle of February, which is typically the strongest month of the winter, and so we will see periods of snow, but we will also be a roller coaster, warmer temperatures, and drop down into the maybe single digits. So,
no matter how hopeful you are that it's going to stay warm, it's usually going to snow again.
You know, I woke up this morning and I think I was listening to WSIU Carbondale. And
that's too bad.
They were talking, well, it's just one of many choices, including this one that I listened to. So, and they were talking about snow was expected. And my first thought was I wouldn't be too sure about that because I had run through the models. But there was a small swath that I think some of them were still counting on. I think they were reading a National Weather Service forecast, but I was thinking to myself, you know, I just don't see it anywhere around us.
Well, we were supposed to get a little bit of rain, snow today, but the system pushed to the southeast. So we lucked out with sunny skies.
There you go. Is there something people don't know about weather forecasting when you're on the air, preparation, or just that they don't know that you'd like to share today?
I think that the first thing that the general public thinks is that we have a teleprompter. And we don't have a teleprompter. We have to do the research. You want to expand on that?
You do the research hours in advance of the show, and then you get up there on the green wall, and whoever's behind the camera cues you, and then you just talk for 3 minutes off the top of your head. So it does take quite a bit of preparation, so you know the science, you know what you're going to talk about. And in my case, I write out what I'm going to say, but I definitely don't read it. It all comes off the top of your head.
So do you make fun of the news people for using the teleprompter then?
I have before.
I need the inside news here.
We say we are the most important aspect of the newscast, because what happens if stories are read too fast?
If stories are read too fast and we have extra time in our show, the extra time falls on us. So we end up having...
The old Phil.
Yeah, we always just talk a little bit more. We kind of fill in the rest of the show with weather and whatever else we had to talk about.
You know, we've had the benefit of many of Professor Craig's students come in as guest speakers from time to time. And I remember one thing that Heaven Ritchie said. Yep. She said, if you're worried about not being able to fill the time, learn more science. The more science you know, you're not going to have to worry about filling that time. You're going to be able to tell them all kinds of things. So that thought always comes back to me as I struggle to learn the science.
And another aspect of the public doesn't quite get is that we're not perfect. We're definitely not perfect. We're, as scientists, we're trying to find a little bit more about what the world is like and how it responds to certain things, and so we're not all knowing. Therefore, believe us, but also give us a little leeway, because we will be wrong.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the best things about WEIU in general is that the students, the kids, I always call you kids, I'm sorry, but they're going there live. It's okay to mess up every once in a while and to get better, because the only way you can do it is live, and not to practice it all afternoon so we can air the best version at 5:30. You're walking in 5:30, and those 3 or 4 students on air are going live and learning real life television that they're going to have to do in the real world, and I think that's one of the best things. So it's all right not to be perfect, as you say.
One thing I've learned and appreciated very much is that, compared to the legal career, you want to speak carefully. I didn't realize how carefully weather people need to speak. You want to be precise as you can be, but you also want to speak carefully. You might say, for example, I'm not going to guarantee we're going to have a 9-inch snowstorm or whatever. You can say, well, this model is showing us the possibility that we might get this much snow.
Yeah.
By the way, if you're just tuned in, we're not getting this much snow. But
This is an interview.
So we speak more precisely, more carefully by talking about the possibilities, the likelihoods. We can never guarantee what the weather's going to be from one minute to the next, but we can do a good job of educating and informing people what the possibilities are.
And the only thing you guarantee, the sun will come up and it'll be dark at night.
That's right.
That's the weather buffs.
Well, here's one. I used to think that it was a guarantee that the sun came up in the east and set in the west, so to speak. Of course, this is having to do with the rotation of the Earth primarily, but this, in fact, is not the case. As I study this more, we have the sun coming up from the east-northeast or the south or east-southeast at different times of the year. The only time it comes up in the true east and west is the time periods of the equinox
That's
periods.
right. Yes.
There you go. Something we learned today now. Emily, do you prefer like a crazy weather day or just a plain day where it's going to be when in the summer days or whatever, the late spring when it's going to be 85 every day?
I definitely prefer the crazy days because, after a while, the repetitiveness of just like, oh, it's sunny, it's hot, you don't get to talk as much, and it's just not as interesting as like if we get severe weather or snow, and it's an extra challenge on top of that, trying to like forecast, like especially with snow, it's very difficult to forecast how much, when, all that about the snow are going to be coming in the winter. But
Scott, same?
I like the plainer days.
I would not have guessed that.
I like learning more about what we're experiencing on a more regular basis. There's always something. There's always something to point out that maybe we haven't thought about. And that includes looking at our past, again, with the information we have. Thanks to our weather center at EIU, we know each day kind of what to expect and what's happened in the past, but there's always a way to put a new angle out there or a new spin on something. We never have the exact same thing twice if you look close enough.
Can't wait to hear these two talk.
It is good to hear. Yes, severe weather, crazy days are easy because you've got something to work with. Whereas if you're in Tucson, Arizona, it's hot and sunny all the time. You've got to come up with a different way of presenting it, and that's the challenge. So it's not easy.
When you're still learning stuff from Cameron, what do you think the next evolution of television weather is going to be? Is there changes coming in terms of technology?
I think that and in the beginning, maybe 10 years ago, I was totally against students using social media to update because I wanted them to focus on presenting the weather seriously. And then I found out from former students that the trend is more social media, more clicks, more likes and things like that. I think that that's something new that I have to bring into the coursework, is how to appropriately post things that you're not going to freak people out or it's just sounding hypey.
Yep. That's a tough one, but I think we've all kind of adapted to the fact that social media is here and it's not going away, so you have to learn how to use it to get people
That's
to
right.
watch and or listen.
The next challenge is also how do the old models respond to climate change? We're finding that to be a situation today, is that some of the models are kind of all over the place.
Favorite thing that Cameron has taught you to?
I think the environment that he has in the classroom. I think weather and climate is a life-changing course. It has been for me. It's a very diverse classroom. The discussions are wonderful. Open-ended discussions. A lot of times we hear a lot of different perspectives, but we just have, I think, a wonderful guy and leader out there, Professor Craig, who's teaching us all these things. And it was, for me, I would like to take that class every year. I would if I could.
I'm sure Eastern will let you. I mean,
I think it should be mandatory. I think every student, weather is so important. There is not a
it
student
affects
on
you daily,
campus.
but you don't think
Yeah.
about it affecting
Yeah.
you daily.
You'll think more about it if you take this course.
Emily?
I mean, I took weather and climate last semester, and my favorite lesson in that was the water lesson about, because I mean, it went on for a while, yeah, but like you don't realize just how much we take for granted, because like certain people don't have have access to water and stuff, and how that will affect our weather in the future. But I found that lesson super fascinating.
All right, I'm going to go rapid fire questions. We have a minute and a half left. We'll just go down the line. Oops, Scott, Emily, and Cameron. All right, favorite season?
Summer.
Fall.
Winter.
Do you have a weather hero or mentor?
Yes, Alan Seals in Alabama.
I do not.
Cameron?
Weather hero. Yes, Dr. John Oliver, my professor.
Okay. What would you name a hurricane if you could?
I don't know why Emily comes to mind. I'm
I
sorry.
was going to say Emily
All right,
too.
we got two Emily.
Cameron.
Cameron, all right. Would you or are you a weather chaser, those tornado chaser people that...
Be very careful how you answer.
No, I'm not. I recognize the danger.
I am not.
I am not.
Speaking of that, though, what would you ask Jim Cantori if you could?
Can I have a job?
Nice, Gwen. I like that.
I don't know.
I still don't know.
Favorite weather-related movie? There's been a lot of good ones.
Well, this combines my love of water with other things. For some reason, it's not really that much weather. Joe versus the volcano. It's a gem. A lot of people think it's corny. I think it's a gem.
Cloudy with a chance of meatballs.
Oh, that's a good one. Mine is The Day After Tomorrow.
That would be my second. Twister would be my first. All right. We're almost out of time, so thank all three of you for coming. We appreciate
you.
it so much. It's been a learning, hopefully, for you people out there in TV and radio land to listen to Scott Ealy, Emily Davis, and Cameron Craig of our WEIU weather team here. We got some good ones. They're all over the country, and hope you learned something today. So thank you all three for coming
Thank you.
in on this
Thank you.
Monday.
Thank you.
We are WEIU. Everybody have a great day.